So I started a Dungeons and Dragons campaign recently. I'm playing a wizard. So I've been thinking about magic and spells and whatnot in that context. I'm not very good at it, but we're giving it a go. And, so far, so good. Then I thought if I had like one level 3 spell slot that I could cast, I'm no cleric. I'm not really a healer. But if I could cast a magic spell to bring one Chiefs player back completely 100% healthy instantly off of IR, would I rather cast that final spell slot to bring back Rashee Rice or Jalen Watson? I've gone both ways on this one, Seth. I've bounced between both answers. I don't have a joke to jump off on this one yet, but I'm curious where you would go.
That's actually a lot harder than I would have thought.
I know.
Um,
That's the crazy part. It's hard.
Right. Because they've grabbed someone to take on some of that Rashee role. Like everything else is the same, right?
Yep.
They've traded for Hopkins.
Just magically back to the offense fully healthy, or back to the team fully healthy.
I think because Amenahu is trending towards health this year, and the pass rush is so complimentary for the quarterback room, I think I go with Rashee Rice because I think he's a great complement to Hopkins and Worthy.
Okay, let me roll. That's an 8. You've been eaten by dragons.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank. If you're thinking about starting a business or know someone who is, check out Emprise Bank's SBA loans. It's always good to know your options, and they can be your partner in possible.
In a shocking turn of events, we talked plenty about the Chiefs' defense on Tuesday's edition of Only Weird Games. So we're going to start with the offensive side of the ball here today. Joshua Brisco, Seth Keysor, Nate Taylor will join in progress. He is, I believe right now, he said, writing about the defense. So we have covered both sides of the ball, as has Nate, in these recent days. Seth, we can get into the nitty gritty here in a second. It still feels like, open territory, but I'm curious because I know your methodology on this. I'm curious how you felt before and after finishing your piece that we'll talk about what was most responsible for the issues in the passing game against Buffalo.
Sure. I feel like I always do, and this might just be a football thing. Well, actually, no, it's not, because in previous years, so like last year when I would really break down the offense, I was like, well, I don't know what they're going to do. Who knows? I don't know. This looks bad, guys.
Hey.
Yeah. And look, I'm gonna go on a diet, Josh. Jeez.
That's just the voice we're doing. I don't know.
No, I know. My Jimmy Stewart turns into Fat Albert very quickly. I last
you
year
want to eat the moon? Sorry,
it's made out of cheese. So
there we go.
I would last year when I looked at the film, it was just like, I don't know where these answers are. Basically, we need MVS to start playing like 2022, and we need Rashee Rice to take a huge step forward, and we need, like multiple personnel things to change. This year, especially since Hopkins came on board, when I watch the tape, I see answers there, like things are just off a tick. It's no longer like, my God, like, just like so many things. And so I felt a little more hopeful because some of it with the Bills game just came down, in my opinion, that if some of the Chiefs stars play like stars the whole game, that game looks very different. And so that gave me a little more hope because I can count on guys like Patrick Mahomes and Trey Smith to play better than they did against the Bills. With Mahomes, it wasn't the whole game, but he just was part of the problem early in a way that he normally isn't. And so I felt a little more hopeful.
That's good, because ultimately I think what you're saying is that when it all came down to it, not enough guys who typically handle their business were successfully handling their business. As today's episode of Only Weird Games is brought to you by Manscaped. More later on about how you can save 20% off free shipping with the code KC Sports at Manscaped. I'll tell you more of the details about that later on. So let's get right into it then. You asked your Twitter following. Lots of people keep asking me to ask you to do Blue Sky, and I'm just saying it on a podcast so people will know that I've asked. Now it's your problem. It's up to you and the rest of them. I don't need to litigate. I speak for the people, Seth.
Yeah. Blue Sky have a search function?
I don't know. Twitter's doesn't work, so it's kind of a little bit of column A, column B.
Look, I appreciate you passing it along. I would just tell people that while I don't have the capacity right now to be active on more places than I am already on Notes and on Twitter, who knows what you might find if you look. But you wouldn't expect me. Don't expect me to be active anywhere else unless it becomes really necessary to be active anywhere else. Because if we know one thing about me, Josh, I'm only active in one place. And I only handle my business in one place at a time within the confines of a loving marriage. And so I can only be active one place at a time. So that's just, I'll let people, figure that out. So
somebody, Anita said, he'll say, I don't have the mental capacity. So shout out to Anita on Blue Sky for calling that previously. That's fine. I'm just, again, I speak for the people, and we'll take your mental capacity wherever we can get it. We can all agree, Seth. No one wants you to lessen your mental capacity for the sake of being on more social media sites. I feel like we only have so much to spare at this point. And you've put your capacity to good use.
Yes.
Talking about these issues.
Yes.
I have some takeaways from what you've discovered. You again asked what people were expecting. We got, I think, predictable responses. My one watch vote was also not one of your top answers, but I was not surprised by the places you did land. Given a few other factors we've been discussing as of late. What was the biggest issue? And if you want to go chronological, to start with Mahomes, I know that it was two of those three that you faulted him on were on that. Well, not the first drive. That first drive wasn't very long.
That first drive, it ended real quick.
Yeah. So how do you want to set that up and
Sure.
Tell people that Patrick Mahomes and Trey Smith aren't good anymore? I kind of skimmed it.
So yeah. It's just a quick skim, If only, is it Carson Wentz time and Mike Caliendo time? Who's to say? Click to find out. I
think it's OC Doug Peterson time is what it is. Let's get that guy fired already.
Yeah. If we could just probably take a few more deep shots. One thing I know is they'd run mesh more. And you can never run enough mesh. And Doug Peterson, if he loves one thing, it's running mesh. Although if you've watched the Jaguars offense lately, you're like, ooh, I don't know if that's a solution to anyone's
It's not
problems.
a guy I'm super excited about. But
here's the deal. I think the easiest thing to do is, and I haven't done the complete charting for Mahomes yet, which I feel like people are going to feel like it's repetitive because I talk so much about Mahomes in this piece, but I didn't go over accuracy of throws or anything like that. Here's the thing. Mahomes, the key word is trust. We saw it last year. We saw it this year. The problem for Mahomes is that this year there's a little more to trust than there was last year. The protection's better this year at certain points than it was last year. Juwan Taylor's playing better overall in pass protection. And Morris, I think, has been just fine, maybe even a little better than Donovan Smith. The receivers are a little better, especially these last few games. I think you have a situation where he's not necessarily trusting what he's seen. And because of that, the way I described it is you've got him playing a tick too fast and a tick hesitant, which I thought of saying it as a tick too slow, but that doesn't quite nail down what the problem is. The first snap of the game, the first drop back, is so demonstrative of this. There's a pocket. And so I was upset initially about the throw.
Yeah.
Because it's a bad throw, but he's being tackled as he made it. And if you're going to get mad about him throwing it while he's being tackled, then let's undo the 36 times he's done that the last 5 years, some of which that might even undo a Super Bowl or two, because on the road there, he had to make some of these throws. The problem here wasn't then, though. It came before then, because the reason he was getting hit as he threw was because he was too sped up. The Bills' game plan was take away Travis Kelce, and then after that, we're going to take away Travis Kelce, and we'll probably take away Travis Kelce, and if we have some time, we're going to take away Travis Kelce. That was like their game plan. They played more man coverage than I think the Chiefs were expecting again, second week in a row. Andy, I think teams are getting the memo. But, whatever.
I'm going to add a quick little parenthetical on the Kelce thing on the interception. In weeks past, Reed and Mahomes, especially in the seasons, sometimes they got 2-3 guys on Kelce, and we've been like, not 3 guys. On this play, this isn't good defense. Did you note it? This is actually not, this is not what the Bills wanted to be doing. On this play, 3 guys move towards the gravity of Kelsey immediately
Right.
around him. 3 guys kind of at linebacker depth. I think one of them might have been a safety. I can't remember. But
Yeah,
there is a black hole there on the field, which you would think,
Right.
Seth, I'm no film head. I'm more of a spreadsheets guy.
Sure.
But when I watch football and I see 3 defenders sort of overselling to one, let's say, offender, I typically expect somebody else to pop open somewhere. Well, what am I missing?
Well, that's really it, especially when a team is playing zone coverage and they've got 7 guys back there. There's 5 guys running routes and 3 defenders jump on 1 guy. I'm no mathematician, but that seems to me like someone should be open. In this case, it was Noah Gray opening up in the middle of the field. So where Mahomes eventually threw was to Noah Gray, who was so open that even after Mahomes scrambled forward unnecessarily and waited about 1.5 to 2 seconds longer than he needed to make the throw, he was still open. That is how you know someone is crazy open in the NFL, because normally when someone gets open in the NFL, especially against zone, there's a oh crap moment and then someone recovers, which is what DeAndre Hopkins' corner was trying to do. DeAndre Hopkins, by the way, wide open as well. Because his corner jumped on a shallow route for some reason, not sure why. And then Hopkins comes just wide open because he's running. He's like, hello. He's like right by the 50, just like if Mahomes like lost the ball, there's only one safety back. It looks like they're playing some variation of cover 3. And that deep safety was, I don't know what they were thinking there, but that dude was like 35 yards back.
It would have been a foot race with Hopkins for the end zone. Like that's what it would have. He had the angle there, obviously, but he had a pretty good angle.
And so that he was wide open. Gray was wide open. But here's the problem is Mahomes was playing too fast. He, rather than taking advantage of the pocket that he did have, Morris directs the edge rusher wide. There's no one that's directly threatening him. One great way to think of it, try to put yourself in the quarterback's eyes and think of, okay, well, what is he seeing? Sometimes in a case like this, you might, when you look at the Madden Cam view, like, oh, there's someone with a straight line to him. But the only reason anyone got a straight line to him is because he moved forward. The closest guy to maybe losing was Jawan Taylor. But if he stays put, that angle isn't there, and Taylor can just die a slow death. Dying a slow death means it takes, 4 seconds to get there. The ball should be out. That gives you time. This is how it works. And in that time, he could have hit Gray or Hopkins. Instead, he runs up, then creates an angle for guys to hit him. And that was the major mistake there. The throw, don't love it, but the throw would have just been fixing the mistake he already made. And this is where Mahomes is just not trusting stuff. If the first read isn't there, he's not trusting stuff as much as he needs to. And last year he was right almost every time to bail, because if the first read wasn't there, almost no one else was getting open. This year there have been options. Worthy's had his stuff. I know you guys talked about him, Tom. He does open up down the field. He's actually a pretty good fit for a lot of reads downfield stuff. There's a world out there where Worthy had, like, in the multiverse, where Worthy has like another 500 yards in this offense this year.
And 3 touchdowns at least, without changing much.
Yes. Without changing much at all. And so that play is a good example of where Mahomes himself was the problem on 3 of the plays that I looked at. I found before the final drive. I don't really account the final drive because you're down 2 scores. There's 2 minutes left. Your playbook is so limited. They just get to pass rush. There's so much different there that I didn't even look at that. But I found 11 plays where there was pressure. Of those, I put 3 of those on Mahomes, and 2 of them, actually all 3 of them, were early in the game. Then he really tightened it up. The very last drive, he had one that I put on him as well, where he actually had a window, didn't want to take it, which it was a narrow window. And, I think it was a struggle at that point. He tightened up, but Trey Smith had one of his worst days in pass protection that he's had in a hot minute. He was responsible for a couple of pressures, just him. He was responsible for the pocket being crushed in conjunction with Creed Humphrey, and then in conjunction with Jawan Taylor on a couple other plays. It just was not a good day for him. And it was one of those
4 of your 11 included Trey Smith, 2 of them exclusively.
Right. So that means 7 of 11 of these are 2 guys that you count on to play like stars. Let's say each of them only had 1. It's a completely different game, because some of these came on plays that look like they've got possibilities for shots down the field, the thing we've all been begging for. And some of it's been Mahomes. And so that was something that I really noticed with Trey Smith. He just had a tough game. And so when people want to talk about like play design and that kind of stuff, I would just note that, like, an example, when Mahomes completed that miraculous throw to Hendershot in the red zone, which was an unbelievable play, Trey Smith loses immediately. He loses so fast that Creed can't even provide help. Hunt can't really get there in time to help. So Mahomes has to bail, and he creates something out of nothing. That type of stuff happened a little too often. There was a 3rd and 10 where I know Ben Fennell, who I really respect as a guy who breaks down tape, he utilized the broadcast view to demonstrate the Chiefs' lack of speed going down the field in terms of Juju Smith-Schuster just getting jammed into oblivion at the line of scrimmage. I think he was maybe thinking it was a blitz and was helping to release. I don't know. But the thing with that play was, if you look down the field, you've got Worthy going right into a spot where there's the deep safety and no one else towards the sideline, to where he had all this wide open space. And Kelsey has drawn a bunch of attention. Again, 2 guys in this case, and no one else is there, but the protection doesn't hold up. And people blamed Morris because that's the initial guy to get hand on Mahomes. The problem was Mahomes dropped back 11 yards behind the line of scrimmage. That's too deep. And when he tried to step up, both Taylor and Smith had kind of lost inside a little bit to where there wasn't a pocket to step into. Those kinds of things, if you have, it's like pass rush. If you've got one guy that he wins 25% of his snaps, that's an incredible player. But if it's just him, that means there's 75% of the snaps that there's no pressure. Sound familiar? Anyway, if you have individual guys, this guy wins 25% of the time, but this guy wins 15%. This guy wins 12%. Then that all adds up. And that's kind of what happened against the Bills, where when you have your kind of normal failures that you might expect, sometimes they're going to have good coverage. Sometimes your guys aren't going to get open. Sometimes, your weaker points might lose a snap. But you count on your stars to not lose very often, to lower the percentages of those inoperable plays. So that's really kind of what happened. So I tried to just break down each and every one of them. Part of which is just say the answers are there. They are available. And that gives me hope, but it's also just a little bit discouraging to see.
It's a really good read to get to also see all those gifts, as always. Chief in the North newsletter, mnchiefsfan.substack.com or bit.ly/Seth really hates money. If you want to get straight to the deal, it's also offered in the story. Seth doesn't make you work very hard to rob him. I've got something on each of those guys that it really jumped out to me from this. One being that, just as a little supplementary resource, Trey Smith's Pro Football Focus pass blocking grade was the worst of the season, maybe the worst of his career. Do you know what it was, Seth?
No. I know they do on a scale of 1 to 100. Anything above like 60 is at least okay-ish.
Yeah. I think 60 to 70 is probably like pretty okay. 70 to 80 is good. Above 80 is a great game. 35.7 pass block grade for Trey Smith from PFF. You can take that as a grain of salt if you'd like, but Seth just did his own salt-free version and hasn't found any reason to distrust that. And he has had a couple of good games. Interestingly, his best pass blocking grade was against Tampa. I don't know if Vita Vea just wasn't his responsibility, and maybe he ended up getting to have an easier day at the office. Or I genuinely, I don't know.
Yeah.
The thing with Trey Smith that I'm like, I just want to put a pin in, because I don't want to. I'm not at Nick Bolton contract discussion territory with Trey Smith right now.
Please,
I don't care to be. I really like Trey Smith. I also frequently find myself in a place where I hate to be, which is perhaps in opposition with Craig Stout. A terrifying place to find myself, to be like, I don't know. Oh, Seth just turned off his camera for the audio audience. I've never been in that spot. It feels bad, but fair. I am hesitant about the numbers getting thrown around for Trey Smith because the guard market is enormous. They just paid Creed Humphrey. They've got another year of Juwan Taylor definitely on the books.
Yep.
I'm not like planting my flag super strongly in one camp or another, but I find myself with some hesitance while understanding that he is a legitimate weapon in the running game. Like, in a way that it's hard for an offensive lineman to be, he is that. So again, please take this with the care that I'm giving it. But Trey Smith's pass protection has been the weakest part of his game his entire NFL career. We knew that coming into the NFL. So when this is your team and that's your quarterback, I had the contract thought in light of all of this is just something to put a pin in. The other thing, though, is if you're Patrick Mahomes and you have the best interior offensive line in football, 2 elite interior pass blockers, and 1 very good lineman who hasn't had this bad a day in pass pro in a long time, if ever. I would like Patrick Mahomes to maybe just turn the ghosts down a little bit. Like we're not quite in Sam Darnold territory, but Wanya Morris and Juwan Taylor played pretty well. And Wanya had a rougher day when he was operating on a busted knee that didn't hold him back on Sunday against Buffalo. Like,
Yep.
Those deep drops that are a little too deep are really frustrating, and I know they're really frustrating for the tackles because it changes the definition of your job.
Yes.
I maybe I'm following in line behind you to say that I'm a little bit heartened by the fact that the answer to some of these problems is Patrick Mahomes play better, because I
Yes.
believe that he can and will do that. I'm a little bit frustrated because the answer to some of these problems is Patrick Mahomes play better. It's a very difficult dichotomy for me that I think will probably work out. When you say you see the answers there, and maybe this will lead us back into the deep ball conversation as well on some level.
Right.
Because, you have to have some protection to make those deep shots work. But some of them, I read both of these stories today. I already acknowledged to you earlier in the week. I straight up forgot to read your story before Tuesday's show. It was a very busy day for me. I'm caught up to speed now. And having read both of those stories back to back, I'm also aware of the fact that the Chiefs do have I guess I don't really know the intention of the play call, but there have been plays where there is a quick deep shot loading immediately. Xavier Worthy is very fast, and that the one with the following motion from McCole Hardman. It's a very cool look where Hardman essentially follows where Worthy's motion was going, and then Mahomes checks it down to Hardman. He made a good point in whichever story that was in. That doesn't actually speed up this process. You actually just give defenders more time to close in. Where are you in that larger conversation about the deep ball?
I mean, the reality is, and I retweeted something earlier that one of the PFF guys put out. The Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes have the lowest deep shot percentage in the NFL. The lowest, not the second lowest, not the third lowest. It is the absolute lowest. And when you have someone like Worthy who has his stuff, make no mistake, but his best trait is that's crazy to me. That is insane. Your quarterback is not 2016 Alex Smith. And to be fair,
they drafted Worthy for that. That's what he was elite at coming out of college. We saw them working on it in training camp. Yes, with Hollywood Brown, but we saw it.
Yes, and I understand that their entire plan for the season got semi-scrapped during the preseason. To be fair, that was preseason week 1.
Yep.
On the flip side, and here's the interesting thing when I think about how all this went down. Hollywood Brown gets injured, and it's a bummer, but it was not supposed to be this serious. They didn't realize it was going to be this serious until like week 2 or 3 or something like that, right? That's when we found out it's going to be long term. It was a little after the season started, right?
And before Rashee Rice got hurt.
Correct. And so what you see there, what happens there is they didn't have a reason to completely scrap the original plan because the original plan was still going to come back. It was just going to be week 4, week 5, right? Well, then, whoa, things change. Okay, well, let's dial up Rashee deep a little bit more. Let's see what he can do. And Rashee Rice was going to get like 180 targets this year. It was going to be insane. He was going to be the focal point of the offense. I will forever be convinced he was going to have a 1,600, 1,700 yard season. It was going to be nuts. And he looked like he was ready for it. Well, then he gets hurt. And now everything is just in flux. Everything you'd planned to do, you are now in a worse position than you were last year because Travis Kelce doesn't separate from man like he used to. Even from last year, I think there's a slight difference there. And that just is what it is. And he's 35. He's still a really, 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 really good tight end. Travis Kelce has always been, for the entirety of Mahomes' career, more than that. Yeah. He's been more than a really, 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 et cetera, tight end. He has been a guy who could be the focal point of the offense. I don't know if that's true anymore. So now you've got 3 totally, and I think that's why Rashee Rice was going to be the focal point of the offense this year, because it was going to be that gradual thing. Instead of a gradual thing, though, all of a sudden, hey, Trav, we need you to be a focal point again. And to be fair to him, he's stepped up a ton. We've seen a lot of that in terms of the volume, but schematically, you don't have an easy button when there's man coverage against him anymore, depending on who it is, because he can still separate, but it's no longer a guarantee. And the difference between good and a guarantee against man coverage, that matters. That's the difference between like a Justin Jefferson and, an Amari Cooper. That matters a ton. And so I think they're still working their way through that. A lot of people have started to share statistical stuff before Hopkins and after Hopkins. And that really is worth noting. If Mahomes' statistical output was the way it's been since Hopkins arrived, I think people would be freaking out less. Yeah. So they're still in the middle of figuring this stuff out, I think. They've had to revamp on the run twice this season already.
Mild fact check here for myself. It was just before the Bengals game that Hollywood ended up on IR. That reporting came out on September 13th. They played the Bengals on the 15th. So
right.
There have been, and again, like to the Jalen Watson point from the open, there have been so many like screeching tire sound effect. Wait, what are we going to do? Yep. Record scratch. You're probably wondering how I got here moments for this team. And they're still 9-1, which is noteworthy in the standings and in what they have in front of them still, which is, to be clear, the 1 seed and a Super Bowl and a 3-peat. That's all very much in front of them still.
Oh,
but the degree of difficulty on this season has been ratcheted up from some things they don't control. That's frustrating. I may even want to talk a little bit more about Xavier Worthy, but we've got some housekeeping to do. Tucker, if you have the graphic ready to go, we can go there. We can break first. We've got all sorts of options. In fact, I guess, boom, here we go. The Soul of KC Raffle is back from KC Sports Network. You can go sign up now. You can get your tickets now. There's a graphic on the screen, and if you haven't seen it, it's on KCSN social media. I have retweeted it. I think a bunch of us probably have. I'm going to read you a bunch of these prizes here really quick and then tell you how you can sign up. This all, of course, benefits the KCSN Foundation. Here are the prizes you can win. Patrick Mahomes signed mini helmet. Chris Jones signed red jersey. Justin Reed signed home jersey. Shamari Connor signed black jersey. Leo Chanel signed black jersey. That would go hard. If I saw that at a tailgate, I would be excited about what they were eating over there, and I would also not want to take a pass over the middle in front of that parking spot. Nick Bolton signed mini helmet, holiday bourbon pack, tickets, parking, VIP tailgate versus the Texans in December, a Bobby Witt Jr. art by Caitlin Snelling, tequila tasting and session taco tailgate pack, $100 gift card to the Capitol Grill, $50 to Third Street Social, $100 gift card to Red Door Grill, $50 gift card to BB's Barbecue, Cookie Society gift card, a good old day swag pack, the t-shirt and a hoodie. A bunch of those in the second half there have a couple of winners for the gift cards. So that's what you can win by supporting the Soul of KC holiday raffle. All proceeds going towards purchasing presents for Operation Breakthrough, which does incredible work here in the community, which I'm guessing you may know. If not, check them out as well so you can see what this is ultimately going to. We put out a cool video from last year's, which maybe we'll retweet again so you can see all of your proceeds in action there. So here's what you do. You can get a ticket for $20, 5 tickets for $50, or 15 tickets for $100. And you can purchase those through noon Central Time on Monday, December 9th. You can get tickets at givebutter.com/KCSN Soul. That's givebutter, like what you put on toast, butter.com/KCSN SOUL. Or you can Venmo any of those numbers, $20, $50, or $100 at KC Sports Network on Venmo. And we'll draw winners during Only Weird Games on Tuesday, December 10th. It's the Soul of KCSN holiday raffle and toy drive. You can participate right now, but you got to do it before noon on December 9th. We'll take a timeout. Hit me with the break, Tucker, and we'll come back and I'll help you manscape. What?
Shop Chiefs tickets and more with no fees. Plus, save big with code KCSN at ticketsforless.com, the official ticket provider of KC Sports Network.
I'm pretty sure the good people at Manscaped don't even actually know that we have such a long relationship with these wonderful folks and their wonderful products. Seth, Nate's not here yet, so could you remind me of what Manscaped can help you do? Those most magical 3 little words in the English language.
If you're a man, fellas, look at me. Look at me. This is important. I'm going to give you some, I've got kind of dad energy these days. Gentlemen, you've got to be able to handle your business within the confines of loving marriage. Josh, how can they do that?
You can handle your business with the good folks at Manscaped. The holidays are creeping up right around the corner, and I've got something to share with you. If you want to look sharp for all those festive gatherings, maybe finally win that coveted Best Groomed at the Family Dinner award that everyone's family gives out, not just mine, check out the latest masterpiece from Manscaped, the Chairman Pro Electric Foil Shaver. It's like Rudolph for your face because it guides you and glides you to a smooth, irritation-free shave. You can head over to manscaped.com and join the over 11 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped by using code KCSports for 20% off and free shipping. My face trimmer is a Manscaped trimmer. I have used many a Manscaped product over the years, but I'm not going to give you any more details about that right now for reasons that seem pretty evident. Here's something else that's going to make your grooming routine even easier. The Chairman Pro is waterproof. You can do it in the shower. That's right, Seth. You can do it in the shower. Plus,
Man,
waterproof
that sounds
feature.
Incredible. The option of being able to do it in the shower?
I've heard that you can do it in the shower, but I've never had the opportunity myself. So I guess I'll get this and try doing it in the shower. The waterproof
Well, it's important
feature
to watch out for things that might electrocute you when you're doing it in the shower.
won't be a problem here with the Chairman Pro. It doesn't just make shaving easier. It also simplifies cleanup. Just a quick rinse under the sink and you're all set. I have definitely ruined non-Manscaped trimmers by doing that, not realizing that on the back there was a little icon that had a faucet with the crossed out logo over it. I've learned my lesson, and now we have Manscaped. So you can get the Chairman Pro today and experience a shave that is as smooth as you deserve. As smooth as this conversation that Seth and I have been having organically about Manscaped. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code KCSports at manscaped.com. That's 20% off and free shipping with the code KCSports at manscaped.com.
The intrusive thoughts of the whole, not only am I a whatever, I'm also a client moment that could break the internet, which I won't.
Yeah.
But man, let me just tell you, the intrusive thoughts. Sometimes I forget we're doing this live, Josh, and I'm not just sitting here talking to you. This is why I need Nate, because otherwise I'm like, Josh, I was thinking, wouldn't it be crazy if and then I say something. So why don't you say things now?
We have different brands of it. We went very sportsy, very seriously, so I feel like we can do a little bit of psychological exploration here. We have different brands of it, as we've discussed, but man, I guess really it's all three of us when Nate is here. This is a big, big intrusive thought show. The issue is I think Nate's intrusive thoughts are less damning, and also his filter is worse. So he lets more of them out, but they're pretty low level. And the stuff that you think is like, this is a joke I would make that would negatively impact my career and my marriage.
Yeah. No, it is something that would, and by negatively impact my career, I mean probably end it. Probably
and by negatively impact your marriage, I mean probably end it.
Yeah, probably end it. You did what? Well, it was a really good joke because you remember back in the day there was not only am I, a spokesperson, but I'm also a client. But it was a guy with a bald head. But instead, I did that, but I just stood up at a weird time.
So the thing with Xavier Worthy's involvement in this offense that I want to get to the bottom of.
Yeah.
Want to get to the bottom of. Is there going to be, and this is one thing that I'm genuinely looking forward to with Carolina, because as we'll soon note, not a ton of things really pressing about this Carolina Panthers team. Playing better football.
They've won 2 in a row.
They have.
Won 2 in a row.
They have a longer winning streak than the Chiefs do right now.
Good Lord.
If they do, I'll tell you what, if the Panthers beat the Chiefs, Tuesday's show will be a bloodbath. Tuesday? We got to talk to Tucker again after the show. Tuesday, yes. Next show around Thanksgiving, we got to adjust some things. That's where we're at. We're okay, right? Yeah. Sure. Tuesday. I always think I want to make sure I give people a warning if we're going to do a show at a weird time. And our holiday schedule is going to be a little bit janky because the Chiefs freaking play on the 21st and Christmas Day and Black Friday. And
that's so hardcore. That is so hardcore. They could have just sat like half the team for one of those if they'd used the good plays against the Bills.
Well, Seth, do you think they're going to play the Broncos and Steelers and Texans and Browns and Chargers and Raiders in January?
I will log off again. I just want everyone to know, yes, I had to go. My son, by the way, my son Lucas, shout out Lucas. He broke his board, got his yellow belt in Taekwondo. So proud of you, son. That was so great. It was great to see. And my other son, Mason, got a special certification for the leadership he's shown as a black belt. And so that was
what?
Super, yeah, black belt. I've watched him, some of the board breaks he does. I'm like, my son could literally knock me out. With like a head kick.
I was actually going to ask. I didn't know you already had a black belt in the family. I was going to ask if there's a level of belt color where you would step in and be like, and you did it, son. You got all the way to green. That's as high as they go. Just to continue to maintain your dominance, but maintain might be a little bit generous.
Yeah. We'll see. I got a lot of boys. I have sat in the living room with all three of my sons once Tucker turned 18. And you're sitting there with an 18-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 13-year-old, and you realize, like, if we're just talking a wrestling match, I don't think there's a whole lot I could do here because they're all pretty strong, they're all pretty capable. And I was like, I think I'd be in trouble. The one thing with them, all my boys, they're gentle souls. Thanks to my wife, who's raised them very well. I don't think they've got that switch in them just yet. So I think the first time I'll be okay. After that, though, I think I'm in a lot of trouble. The black belt thing, because I was just like, that stuff doesn't work in real life. Then it's like you see it land, you're like, ooh, I think that would work. I think that would really hurt me. But let's face it, they all have that fear of me because I know where they sleep, I know where they live, and I don't fight fair. So, you've got a black belt, and I'll hit you with my car. So
that's why I've never told Seth my address since I moved.
I know. You stop in one time, really intrusively and uninvited. So what I was gonna say,
I still have the same bidet, by the way. So if you want to swing by when you're in town,
so it's not heated still, because I got to tell you, that was, I don't want to use the word violating, but
jarring.
No,
sure.
I do.
Oh, okay.
No, it was. The noise I made was involuntary. I had a plan to do something to make you laugh, but I didn't even need to because I was just ooh, goodness gracious.
It's dead serious. It's like the sound that a cartoon villain makes when they're like I don't know if Wile E. Coyote is the right example because he doesn't talk. But like a cartoon villain gets their like tail lit on fire or whatever, or Elmer Fudd goes, wahoo! I guess that was Luigi, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, it was something exactly like that. My Jazz was there in the living room, and I don't know if you're aware of the ick list, like all the things guys can do that are icks. Yeah. I think that was one of them because I think she's been at least 38% less attracted to me since then, which was bound to happen anyway. So
that's probably the reason. So I'm curious if you think that the Chiefs will solve the deep ball woes, because I'm at a point now where they tried it in the first half. It worked great on one drive. It bit them on one miss. I'll also say, upon each subsequent review of the miss to Worthy down the sideline,
it hurts more and more.
It hurts more and more, and the throw gets worse every time I watch it.
It does.
Because he has so much space straight downfield. Like, to put that ball, if I was playing College Football 25 and my quarterback put that ball on the sideline, and I guess 1 foot would have been fine, but my receiver gets there and he can't haul it in, I'm like, but I just tapped the button, just lofted it, man. Like, I'm going to go back. I'm going to go hit the transfer portal. I can't live like this.
No, and
it's a miss.
Yeah, it's a bad throw. At first I was like, it's just not
a good throw. It's also a bad toe drag by Worthy because two things can be true at once.
Two things can be true at once. And that's, we live in a society where it's like, well, you're saying this one thing, that must mean you think the other thing isn't true. No, I don't. Worthy should have brought it in. He was also put in a bad spot because of the throw. And every time you watch it, you're like, my goodness, they caught Buffalo there. I mean, that was one, Andy and Matt were looking at that during the week. They were like, this is 6. If we call this at the right time, it's 6. And I honestly, Mahomes, he could have stepped into it. His footwork was janky. That happens. But like, I feel like it was a situation where he was like, my God, he's open. Okay. Loft it. Don't do anything weird with it. Don't just fire it at him. Don't whatever. And he lofted it. And I'm guessing as soon as he let it go, the word that went through his head was probably not very kind to himself, is my guess. Because he seemed annoyed talking about it afterwards, not with the reporters, but with himself. Because he seems like By the way, Pat, those voices in your head, man, I know they drive you to greatness, but don't let them define you. It's okay. Like, you don't have to be someone who really because you can see it when he's talking about his head. You can see that inner voice being like, well, why don't you just throw a better bleeping throw, Pat? Like, you can see it. And you're like, oh, come on, man. Like, you've done a lot of good things. Okay. So maybe give yourself a little bit of a break and make a better throw next time. So sorry, my Japanese fourth came out at the end there.
The
Like,
voices have a point. It's just,
yeah.
you
It's
shouldn't
like
only listen
next
to this.
time. Well, and this is again, my quarter Japanese comes out, and like next time you won't dishonor your family. Like, by
You know what I think the problem is, Seth?
what do you think the problem?
I think it's the voice in his head, in his helmet, Matt Nagy. That's the
And
voice in
look,
his head that I have a problem with.
there's a lot of correlation between Matt Nagy becoming the offensive coordinator and the offense being bad, but there's a lot of other stuff that's gone on too.
Yeah.
So
Offensive coordinators
design,
have been getting blamed for the offense not working since Andy Reid got here.
yes. Because it was well, for one, it was like, when Doug Peterson left town, it was like, oh, it's going to be the end of the world because no, and here we are a decade later, and Andy Reid is still churning out productive offenses, and Doug doesn't look like he has new ideas. That's what makes Andy different. He generally is able to morph. I wish he did a little more midseason. That was one thing against the Bills. The designs, there's opportunities there. And so that doesn't mean that I think Nagy's terrific or that I think he's terrible. I don't know, because I don't know where Reid's role ends and his begins. I just don't, and neither does anyone else other than the people in the room. And if someone tells you they know, they're lying.
That's the part of it that does bug me a little bit, is if you are looking to denigrate the offensive coordinator and pull away any blame from Andy Reid, I think you almost can't separate that particular atom. You kind of must acknowledge that it's a package deal. It's a package deal for Eric Bieniemy got blamed for stuff that was not his fault. And now people are like, oh, I remember the good old days with Eric Bieniemy. Meanwhile, it was the good old days with Doug Peterson. And now it's like, hey, Doug Peterson's going to be back here in a few weeks, I'd imagine. Probably next season. And they're like, I don't want Doug Peterson. He stinks now. It's like, well, you didn't think that when he was here and got that job, right? So
yeah,
that is an ever-present carousel that frustrates me.
This would be the first season. I will say this. This would be the first season, given that they are more talented at receiver now. And we got to see how it plays out. Last year, they made it work. They adjusted the offense around Rashee Rice, which was an incredibly impressive thing to do. And they were good enough. Now the defense was better. That game plan in the AFC Championship might not work without an elite defense. So just something to keep in mind. But I want to see how they continue to adjust, because Hopkins, Worthy, Kelsey, with some supporting cast, that's workable. That's very workable, and it has been. They just need to stop maybe trying to play ball control when the defense isn't quite as good, like especially against Josh Allen. So I want to see how it ends up. If it continues to struggle and it occasionally looks like they're putting a few square pegs in round holes, this would be the first offseason I'd say, hey, maybe bring in someone from outside the tree. Let's bring in someone that's currently on the Viking staff or the Lions staff who has a completely different style.
The Jaguars
see
staff.
what they can. Yeah, let's see what they can add to the mix in terms of, just things that are completely outside of what they've previously done. I wouldn't mind that at all, because I do think occasionally some of the West Coast RPO stuff doesn't look like it's got all the same easy buttons that it used to.
You know who I'd like to add to the mix?
Oh, it would have to be someone who handles his business.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, Nate.
Hello.
We've been talking about the deep ball and what went wrong against Buffalo and all those things. And I'm glad we're still talking about it, because you wrote about it over there in theathletic.com. And
yes.
I want to, you can go ahead and assume that Seth has gone through every nook and cranny of his last couple of stories here. And we've dissected all of that. What else do we need to know about what's gone wrong here?
That this really wasn't the plan, and that all the burden is essentially on Xavier Worthy, which is not great. But when Seth was talking so eloquently about getting new flavors, new ideas into the building, I was thinking, what's Luke Getsy up to? Look at Josh's reaction. What's Nerve Turner doing these days? Yes.
I think he's a consultant on a team that his son's the coordinator for, isn't he?
Pretty
No,
much.
he's not anymore. Norv.
What?
Oh yeah, Getsy's in Vegas.
What
Yes.
if instead
God, he was in Vegas.
What if instead we got?
Why hasn't that offense been better? Sorry, go ahead.
I'm like saying like no new blood, and then you say a name. I'm like no, not like that. Like
Yeah,
that's-
exactly.
I mean,
Just one of the
How
good
about-
ones. That's all.
How about
Yeah.
Cliff Kingsbury?
I'd allow it. That offense, that Washington offense looks pretty good.
Oh God, Pass Loose said John Gruden. Now John Gruden was at training camp. Let's not forget.
No,
My
I
God.
think there's like an 85% chance that Doug Peterson's gonna have the like Brad Childress office of offensive guru / passing game consultant. That Doug Peterson will just be in the booth all year next year, and
Yep.
that Gruden will be like, I don't know if we can give Gruden a title or not. I'm not sure if Gruden can have a coach page on the website. I'm conflicted there. I'm not conflicted. I don't want that to happen. But I think
Can you imagine the team meetings where his eyes are just bugging out and he's talking about protections? And you're like, whoa, coach.
John Gruden's TikTok made me wonder how he was a successful head coach for as long as he was, I think. But it's good entertainment value.
reading stats to his players.
Just reading the box score over a sort of generic sounding beat. Yeah.
I'll tell you, nobody.
Sorry. Getsy was in Vegas. I should mention. That is now he is once again available if you are.
That's why I mentioned his name, because Lou Getsy, anybody? A third time?
I forgot that he got hired for that job and fired from that job. That's how much
Yes.
attention I'm paying to the Raiders offense currently.
You know, Mike McCarthy is a interesting thought process because
This is from the comments, people who are listening audibly. Nate's not just.
Nope. Yep. You know, Mike McCarthy's interesting because he was really into the analytics. That's how he got the job with Jerry Jones. He was just
and the
crunching the
sleepover,
numbers.
Right?
Yeah, just really crunching the numbers. Mike McCarthy, analytics guy. Everybody
that
dude
must be incredible in meetings. Like
Rich,
I think
he's a wonderful man. Wonderful man. Like people really do like Mike McCarthy. It's just, he may have lied to get the job. And you know what? Who among us hasn't done that? I was just charting all day. I was just, if you look at my chart here, I Jerry, I think we should do this, and this with Dak. Do you see my ring? Ring, Jerry. Ring me. It's pretty great. Oh, and by the way, who doesn't like a good massage? I mean, come on, man. What happened? Have you lived in Green Bay? Get out of here.
Rich in the chat says just don't give Gruden an email account. That makes sense. Give him a homepage, but not an email. I think that's a good idea. Matt says Mike Kafka after the Giants clean house. I think Chiefs fans should be rooting for the Giants to clean house. I don't think that's a foregone conclusion. And I think it might be a bit hasty. Nate Hackett is extremely good.
Hey, Paul Hackett at one point in time was associated with Joe Montana.
At one point in time, I was associated with Troy Aikman. I shouldn't get the job. I'll take it. I shouldn't get it.
I'd give it to you before I gave it to Nate Hackett, but I digress.
Hey, Paul. Hey, I will give credit. Paul Hackett could dial it up, kids. Paul Hackett has some goodies, okay? But I was in the room.
I was in the room. I'm sure Sean McVay's neighbor is probably looking for some form of. Although considering Sean McVay's job has been NFL head coach for a number of years, I'm assuming his neighbor is an extremely successful lawyer, or doctor, or CEO of some sort.
Sure.
Not like a lawyer like me, like I'm a public servant. I mean like a lawyer that actually makes money. Those like one of those real lawyers, one might call them. But I mean, I don't know. That might be someone. Maybe it's like an analytics type genius that would come in and be like, well, I see that you are throwing the ball deep less than any other team in the league. And deep, big shots, big plays win games. Perhaps you should do it more. And maybe everyone goes, oh.
Now listen here, Andy Reid. You're going to start going for it on 4th and 3 from the 45. Okay? Listen, watch my mustache wiggle.
What if instead you could like try to draw them off sides in a way that no one ever falls for ever because it's obvious what you're doing?
Yeah.
What if you did that?
You can put it in the end zone after that, so I got to keep that.
Here's a real suggestion for Andy Reid and Matt Nagy for just a couple weeks, just this week and next week. How about you not throw the deep ball near the boundary with Xavier Worthy?
I forgot to mention this on Tuesday. On Tuesday over on the Arrowhead Addict show I do with Sterling over there, we had Aaron Schatz on, and Aaron from formerly Football Outsiders, creative DVOA, now FTN Fantasy. Schatz said that I hope I'm quoting it exactly right here because I would hate to, I think this is accurate information, that he's now the second worst, but the two quarterbacks at the bottom of the rankings for targeting for passing in the middle of the field are Patrick Mahomes and Will Levis. As Aaron mentioned, the only thing they have in common is that they've both been like unstoppably tied to condiments. So there's like a mayo chup moat in the middle of the field where like that was shocking to me. So again, I think once Levis came back, he dropped back to 32 or whatever it was. And again, I apologize for not being able to remember the exact numbers of who qualified or whatever. But among qualifying passers, Mahomes was at the bottom of the league over the middle of the field too, and he's at the bottom of the league for deep shots anywhere on the field. Is there a change for that?
Potentially, yes. I do think there's a change for that because we did see it one time where I guess you could say it's kind of the middle of the field against the Chargers. The one deep ball that they did connect on that isn't related to a blown coverage by the Baltimore Ravens in week 1.
Right.
Now the mothership will not like this. Okay, so everybody get in real tight because this is through True Media. Maybe True Media won't like this. All right, blue dots are incompletions. Orange dots are interceptions. And yellow dots are touchdowns. Kids, I'm going to just show you that there's one yellow dot between the numbers or at the numbers. It's a lot of incompletions and a couple of reds, which are completions. This is via True Media.
This is in your story too, so it won't make at least won't make True Media mad. at least it's in the story too.
Yeah, that's the downfield passing game right now.
Yep.
And the thing with the downfield passing game, it's a boom or bust thing, and you got to play the percentages a little bit. And because they do it so infrequently, missing one becomes catastrophic because you never try it again.
Yep.
And I just
literally last week.
Yeah. I don't.
And by the way, this is 20 yards past the line of scrimmage, no matter what down it is this season.
Right. And that is definitely less than ideal. And some of that is going to be impacted by the fact that the only times they're doing it at times are desperation heaves. End of the game, end of the half, 3rd and 20, whatever. Like, this is where you can tell those are not necessarily dialed up deep shots, and they become less of a high percentage play there. And that's really unfortunate. And that's something that they have got to figure out. I understand they had their entire plan blown up. It was like half blown up in week 1 because Hollywood Brown. I think the plan for Rashee Rice this year was like 160 targets. I think the plan for Hollywood Brown was another 110. I think Kelsey might have been a 90 target guy this year if everything went according to plan or less. And then, he's injured, but he'll be back maybe by week 2. Oh, he's going to be out for a long time. Okay, well, we can try to retool things a little bit. Oh, Rashee's out.
Yep.
Okay. And Worthy can't do some of the things that those guys do at this point. They threw him in a role, didn't work. One thing, you know what would be great? And you guys talked about Xavier Worthy Tuesday, so I won't get too far into it. If it weren't for the way that game went down, we might be talking about they designed an entire drive around Worthy. And he showed up. Like he made one really tough catch, ran a couple of fun routes, things that are like things where you're like, oh, we can build around this. And then they just, stopped. But
well, I will say this, like he was open in the second half. It's just a matter of protection, quarterback, a little quick with the trigger. And their one touchdown play, he was I won't say a decoy, but he was out there, but he wasn't out there,
right.
In a way that was like, hey, why didn't he get the ball?
Yeah, that was an encouraging game. I know the sideline thing drove people crazy. Josh said before you came on, Nate, the more times he watches that play on all 22, the worse the throw gets. Because you're just like, look at all that space. And you can see Worthy adjust to it too. He has to speed up. And that's part of why the sideline. And again, should have dragged his feet, should have caught it 1,000,000,000%. But there were a ton of encouraging things about Worthy. And it's a real shame that went down the way it did.
So we want you to break to the outside, then middle, post.
Mahomes will put that ball on the sideline, no matter what.
Seam ball, seam, like up the seam.
Yeah, if there are no defenders there, you don't need to throw it to the sideline. Like throw it to the seam. Yeah, let's just.
What if we did a slug go post?
Tyreek Hill used to feed families with that.
His own. Let's talk about the two guys on the injury report of note. All good news for the Chiefs injury-wise, as Isaiah Pacheco and Charles Omenihu are working back, and both, though, limited participants both days so far this week. Nate, should we be expecting Charles Omenihu or Isaiah Pacheco on Sunday? I'm good with that. I'm totally good with that. Before I saw the first injury report, I thought we'd see Pacheco, not Omenihu. I am totally good with him not being out there against Carolina.
Yeah, my understanding is they're obviously, still rehabbing to some degree. They're still doing, a little bit of work in the walkthrough. Andy Reid said that, they were on scout team last week, which basically means stand over there. All right, move over there. All right, give me this look on the card. It's whatever. To this week, they are not on scout team. They are doing their usual activities. But as I've told people all the time, that limited could be 1 out of 100 reps. It could be 99 out of 100 reps. Anything in between, you're limited. So I don't get the feel that Pacheco is going to be available. I don't get the sense that the Chiefs are just itching to get Charles Omenihu on the field sooner rather than later. Which should inform you, ladies and gentlemen, as I asked Steve Spagnuolo today, does that mean Josh Uche is going to get more than 5 snaps? And he said, okay, look, we got a lot of people, Nate. We got a lot of guys on the D-line room, which I mean,
only 2 of them got any snaps, Steve.
Which I took that as ding, ding, ding. Like, let me gesture elsewhere. Kung Fu, Bruce Leroy. Don't ask me that again. Get out of here. Maybe Josh would say we'll have 10 snaps, Nate.
Fantastic. What an embarrassment of riches.
When I went back and rewatched, he wasn't in a pure pass rush position much, but he had a couple of decent bull rushes, and was part of helping get Allen out of the pocket once.
Yep.
But Josh Allen's a weird quarterback to gauge anything with because I don't know if you guys know this. The Chiefs don't, but sometimes he runs when there's pressure. I mean,
Seth,
I assume the Chiefs.
He's gonna run in January.
I will log off.
Let's get the Chiefs Panthers here. We're running out of runway. Mercifully, I don't think this game's going to need a ton of our oxygen right now. What do you guys want to see? What do you want to work on? What are you hoping the result is here? And I'll go ahead and say right now, 17-10.
I know.
Why? Why? Here's what I want. I know this isn't going to happen. I have some insights via NFL Pro and Next Gen Stats. Are we ready?
I'm ready.
Oh, Tucker typed Panthers. Was that there the whole time or just for the... Sorry to put a lantern on it, Tucker. I just saw you say it in the comments. I hadn't noticed. Was that there the whole time or was that just there for the act? It's been there the entire time. It said
I think that's
Panthers.
been there the whole time. Yeah.
So Tucker, I'll just say this in a group of 3 folks that do some writing on a regular basis, none of who noticed it. Seth and I for a good hour. I don't think you should beat yourself up over it. You know what? Chef's Panthers. Let's go.
So here's
I think that's just Panthers. It sounds like, you know what? Never mind.
Yeah.
If a New York Times mini crossword clue was Chef's Panthers, it would be apron. That's where we're at right now.
Yes.
No one needed to hear that. That's okay. Go ahead. Panthers, I hardly know her. Thank you, Jake Dennis.
Here we go. The Chiefs defense has blitzed at the third highest rate in the NFL this season. Okay.
Yeah.
Which means via Next Gen Stats, they have recorded a league high 39 unblocked pressures this season.
That's a lot.
The Carolina Panthers have allowed this season
Oh, no.
the 7th highest unblocked pressure rate on offense.
Yeah, Spags is going to do the thing.
Because
Kids,
we're not going to see the Panthers in January.
light his ass on fire.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I would love to see them be as aggressive as humanly possible. Also because, maybe a bend don't break, try to have a dominant defense and shutting them down. Ball control type thing isn't working quite as well this year. I don't know. Maybe. I mean, they are 9-1. I mean, it's not the end of the world, but I mean, you can see stuff. But Bryce Young has not shown a ton of
How to protect himself pre-snap
proclivity for that. Well, and then also, if there was, he also happens to be the only human in the league smaller than Xavier Worthy,
or
which is
me.
unfortunate. or me, or hold on. Speaking of Lucas, picking up his yellow belt, I thought the kid in his class was Bryce Young, but so so what I want to see, I would just like to see a good
Bryce Young is
clean
taller
game.
than Seth, by the way, just if anybody's going to get offended by that joke.
Oh yeah. I'm 5'9.5", people, and I don't.
Sorry, let me amend that. Bryce Young is the exact same height as Seth, maybe. But
Bryce,
we're all here.
have.
Hey, none of us are 6'2" here. All right, we're all in the bell
This
curve.
is the shorter KCSN podcast.
I'll tell you what, that's
true.
And Maddie
Yeah.
gives off tall guy energy.
Maddie's in such good shape, everyone assumes he's 5'8", and it's no. He's jerk. Anyway, he's actually a wonderful person. I just don't like how good a shape he's in. Anyway, in terms of what I'd like to see, an actual clean game against a team that they're clearly better than on both sides of the ball. They are a more talented roster. They are a better coach team. They have no reason to sandbag. You're not going to see this team in January. And it's not like people don't have 20 years of Andy Reid's offense on film. For the love of God, what good is that gigantic playbook if you don't call some of the plays? So I would like to see them push the ball down the field. You don't need to hide it. It's not like, oh my gosh, they ran a post. I didn't think they knew about posts. We got to change our entire playoff game plan now, fellas. We weren't going to guard posts. That's where you run straight and then towards the post.
Hey,
And
coach,
the Chiefs know about it. This is terrible.
Hey, coach, the Bills played a lot of cover too, dog. You might want to hit that seam ball up the middle.
Let's just throw right up that seam. Oh, but hey, look. If you got one corner that's low and a safety that's high, now not right at the sideline, not right at Pat, stop it. Not right at the sideline. A little before the sideline. Let him run into the ball, not sprint to the sideline. These are things I just want to see a clean game. I want to see some downfield shots. I want to see them continue to Worthy's role in the first half against the Bills, which was really mostly just one drive. Give me more of that. They are painfully slow outside of him at receiver. Hardman's more of a gadget guy. Watson's a slow burn. He's fast down the field, but he's not crazy fast down the field, and it takes him a little while to cook there. Hopkins and Juju are not fast guys. Let's see more. Also, speaking of DeAndre, I've heard you can play him more than half the snaps. I've heard that's allowed, so I'm excited to see the Chiefs with this new this newfangled thing called play your best receiver. I'm excited to watch that happen. And so it'll be good to see Justin Watson get more snaps, obviously.
He knows the playbook, Seth.
Oh my gosh.
Like theoretically,
I bet
could
Jason
learn the
Avant
playbook.
knows the playbook
Right,
too.
right. Jeremy Maclin knows the playbook.
Yeah. But why not? Let's come here back. And honestly, some of this
Cornell
isn't-
Powell knew the playbook and they cut him.
Yeah.
For a guy that doesn't know the playbook.
Yeah, let's get Taekwon. How do you say his name? Is it
Taekwon Thornton.
Taekwon Thornton.
There's an N in
hey,
Thornton where you're
He's
not
fast
expecting
and
it.
tall.
Yeah.
Does he
That's
know the
fun, isn't it?
playbook?
We're gonna talk about him so much at training camp next year, dude. I am like already. I'm buying my stocks. They're all futures, but I'm buying August Taekwon Thornton stock.
Oh my goodness, they ran goes to both sides of the field with Xavier Worthy and Taekwon Thornton. What do? You run the Greg Williams, safety's 40 yards off the line of scrimmage? Who knows? But no, we're gonna be so excited.
30-year-old
about that.
Kareem Hunt will and Isaiah Pacheco will combine for 600 carries. Anything you're nervous about whatsoever with the Panthers, or anything that you're putting a little bit of concern in at all?
Bryce Young has been playing better. He's talented. He's always been talented, and now he's playing like someone who absolutely has nothing to lose, which is great.
8-13.
Yeah,
Let's see it now. Let's see it. The coaching staff. I don't think Najee Johnson isn't gonna start. He's probably gonna start. So, hey man, we gotta have a slow build to January. So let's see an improvement from last week. I think that's what I want to see mostly is just can you get home, and can your number 2 corner play with a little bit more confidence, with a little bit more spatial awareness. Hopefully, there's not as much. I mean, Spags basically said like mental errors, communication lapses, and I guess there was some pre-snap alignment. I know we talked about it via text, but like Spags didn't want to get too specific, but like, hey, if you're adding a new guy into the secondary that's playing 100% of the snaps, which is Najee Johnson, hopefully you want to see less of that with each, passing week. So let's see less mental errors so that way he can play up to what he's capable of, which is, NFL starter level. It's just unfortunate that he got, there's no hiding. I mean, he got picked on last week. So if the Panthers try a similar strategy to try to make things easier for Bryce Young's, be up for the test.
And
I think it's that, and it's a deep shot. Seth, what was that?
And if it goes poorly, you do have a guy that had a bigger role in a better secondary last year.
I'm okay if they want to give Najee this game and say, hey, you had one game where you got picked on. You're going to get 100% of these snaps too, no matter how it goes. Hopefully, if it becomes a legitimate issue to beat the Panthers, then you can adjust on the fly, I suppose. But I'm good with that, and I think I'm going to go. Somebody said that the line is 10. I'm going to go 20-10. Just a nice couple of round numbers. 20-10, and Vegas gets the push. Seth?
Do you want to know what?
Yeah. 40?
41-21. Chiefs.
I didn't know weed was legal in Minnesota.
This is the game. Only if it's 0.3% or below. It is. I know that because I'm a prosecutor, by the way. Not, well, you know what? Whatever. I'm gonna go eat some Fritos and think about that. The Chiefs are finally going to put it together. They're gonna take a few deep shots. They're gonna actually hit one. We will all celebrate and then immediately go, it's against the Panthers. But still, that's what's gonna happen. I've spoken it into existence. We can have one relaxing game this year. Just one. I just want to sit down and apparently eat my THC gummies.
Yeah.
Apparently. And just watch the Chiefs play a relaxing game.
I'm going to change my score to 17-16. Go ahead, Nate.
17.
I'm going to say 20-10.
20
with another last minute field goal block.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, sure. Yeah.
24-13
Chiefs. I know Past Lou asks, how many shits and giggle plays will we see? What's the over under? I want to put it at like 5. Just put them out there. You know, because the one thing about it is there's wrinkles to all of those 5. Like it's not like you can't put it out there and like not see, you know, some giggles, some shits, perhaps some shits and giggles. So 5, put it at 5, and I would say 3.5 within the red zone.
I think my role on this episode is officially over. I've turned off my camera to let Seth and Nate handle what needs to be handled here.
They have not earned it this year. Well, okay, they kind of have. They're 9-1.
They're 9-1, Seth.
I just want a relaxing game, Nate. I want to cook a tombstone
Leo
pizza to perfection.
In the backfield in Carolina.
I mean, that would be kind of cool. Leo's pretty awesome. Well, Nate, we are at an hour and 10 minutes. Why don't you take us out here? I have taken over for Josh. He came back.
No, that's all right. You did a good job.
Thank you. Take us out, Nate.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. You know, something happened to me over the last couple days. And I just got to get it off my chest. All right. Now, look. As I built the suspense, as I built the drama, I want you to know that the more times I see I can't. I don't think I can say it, guys. I don't think I can say it. It's too much, Tucker. It's too much.
This episode's edition of Blue Balls brought to you by Manscaped, I guess.
I can't.